YouTube? This is Garrett DJ Deuce with another pickups video for you guys. This video is going to cover a week's worth of pickups, tons of stuff to cover, so let's get right into it. We'll start off with a couple of trades that I did. First off with Retro Rat. So I had a copy of Valkyrie Profile, an extra one that I sent off to him that he did a trade plus cash deal with, for a copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the PS1. Glad to get that back in the collection. And we did some trades for some other stuff. Actually, I sold him some things, and he sent me a copy of, well, a manual for Deep Duck Trouble starring Donald Duck for the Game Gear. I have the box and cart, didn't have the manual. Finally, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Back from the Sewers for the original Game Boy. Next up, trades with Tara. Had a bunch of Pokemon games that I got at a yard sale last video, so I gave a couple of those to her, and in return I got the Sword of Mana for the Game Boy Advance, Super Smash Bros. For the N64, along with Banjo-Kazooie and Mario Kart 64. Next up, I did a trade with a guy named Matt. I had a copy of Star Fox and Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo, and a copy of Mario Kart 64 for the N64. So in return, I got two Nintendo Game & Watches. We got Mario Cement Factory and Donkey Kong Jr., and both of these do have the battery backs. Alright, next up, pawn shop pickups. I picked up all this stuff for $9. There was, what's missing, I believe, are two games that I've already flipped to recoup for this. So we've got Sunsoft's Batman the video game, and Kids on Site for the Sega CD. Alright, went to Independent Records, got a couple of things. Picked up Power Slave for $3.99 for the PS1. Didn't have this. We've got a copy of Outlaw Volleyball for the original Xbox and Outlaw Volleyball Red Hot. And these were on sale for $1.98 each. Alright, then I found a copy of Mega Man X8, and this cost $11.99 complete. And finally, a copy of Klonoa 2 Lunaty's Veil. This was $28.99 complete. Alright, let's see. Did some trades with some video game stores. This first trade is from Video Game Exchange and Comics. Traded in a few things just to pick up a couple games. So, picked up a copy of Speed Punks for this was $9.95. And Roll Cage Stage 2 for $4.95. And I also got two copies of Looney Tunes Sheep Raider for the PS1. One went to Retro Rat's friend who's trying to complete his PS1 collection, and another one I have on eBay that hasn't sold yet. All this on store credit. What the hell dropped? Looks like a Game Boy Advance game dropped. Alright, another store I did some trades with, Vigigames. They always price their stuff at or above retail, and it's pretty expensive, so I only bring in stuff to trade to get stuff that I need that they have. So we'll start off with this sealed copy of Super Columns for the Game Gear, and it was marked at $12. Copy of Moon for the Nintendo DS, that was marked at $23.50. And finally, Drone Tactics, which they marked at $35. So as you can see, these are pretty high priced, so not willing to throw cash, only trade at stuff like that. Next pickup, this was off of OfferUp. Two separate ads. A lot of the stuff is already gone. I've sold off a lot of it already because there was a lot of Pokemon stuff. There's pictures of everything in the lot after the video, along with other things that didn't make the cut, so stay tuned after the video if you want to see everything. So one lot had a bunch of Nintendo handhelds. This included like two Game Boy Advances, one teal Game Boy Color, a bunch of some Pokemon games. There was Dragon Warrior 3 in there for the Game Boy Color. And what I kept was a Game Boy Color Pokemon edition. And it does have the battery back. The screen is really scratched, so I ordered a replacement screen for this and a new battery back because this is kind of falling off. I think the clip is broken in the back, but this is pretty beat up, so I ordered a new battery cover and screen for this. Alright, so the handheld lot cost $40, and then he had another ad for a Cobalt, you know, the dark blue DS Lite, and two games for $25. So I asked him if he would take 20 for that lot, he said, sure. So altogether, $60 for everything. I already sold off the DS Lite, the Pokemon White game that came with it, but I kept Super Mario DS. Alright, and it also came with this cool carrying case for everything, for the Pokemon Game Boy Color. Alright, next up, I was at an Entertainmart and looking for games. I spotted one, texted RetroRat, asked him if he wanted this. He said sure. So I paid $9.99 for this, and this is going to him. This is McFarlane's Evil Prophecy for the PS2, and it is 100% complete. Alright, so that's going to him. This next lot comes from a guy, Sparky. You've heard me mention him several times on some of my videos. He's been kind of AWOL for a while, but he messaged me one day saying he overspent for the month, was looking for some quick cash, so he sold me a tub of stuff for 80 bucks. Ah, these Game Boy Advance games. Anyways, I don't have blooper reels, so that'll be 100% live. Anyways, so 80 bucks for everything. There were 5 systems in there, just a ton of Nintendo carts, ton of other like Xbox 360, PlayStation 2 games, original Xbox, a ton of stuff. I kept a bunch. Some of that Game Boy Advance stuff fell, so I'm not even going to cover it. It's mostly all shovelware titles anyways. So we'll start off with Backyard Basketball, Ace Combat Advance, Connect 4, Perfection and Trouble. This one is Aggravation, Scrabble Jr. and Sorry. Namco Museum. Scooby-Doo, Cyber Chase, and Mystery Mayhem Double Pack. Littlest Pet Shop for the DS. Mario Hoops 3-on-3 for the DS. Put all this stuff over here. A couple of manuals. The manual for Palamedes for the NES, as well as Othello. Loops. We got Stuntman Ignition for the PS2. This is Human Grand Prix. It's a Super Famicom game. Just a weird mixture of stuff. We got toys for the Sega Genesis. Street Fighter 2 Special Championship Edition. We got a complete in-box Real Sports Baseball for the Atari 2600. A complete Brunswick World Tournament of Champions for the Super Nintendo. We've got Break Time, Othello, Legacy of the Wizard, Willow, Loops, Palamedes, Milan's Secret Castle, Blades of Steel, Godzilla, The Adventures of Dino Riki, and Bubble Bobble, another Game Boy Advance game. This is Herbie Fully Loaded. Again, I don't know what dropped, but it was just a bunch of shovelware titles, so whatever. But all that cost 80 bucks. I've already sold off all the consoles, all the other stuff. That's all the stuff that I kept. I don't think I took a picture of everything either. I think I might have just took a picture of the tub with everything in it. So, next up, this is from the flea market last week. This is a E.T. plush. My wife loves E.T., so I was going to sell this because this is vintage from the 80s. But when she saw this and she saw that it came with a sweater, she was like, I want him. So I was like, all right, let me just feature him in a video and then I will let her have it. So this cost me $3. Not bad. All right, so from Storage Locker Connect I had there, he didn't really have much for sale. What he had was an N64 with a red top, and what else did he have? N64 with a red top with controllers, no games, a bunch of accessories and whatnot. But I ended up keeping one controller, which is the Atomic Purple controller. And finally, he had a complete in-box Atari 2600, the mini version. The box is pretty beat up, but the system is in here, and it does come with a couple of games. So there's the system. It came with, well, actually not a couple, it came with one game, Star Raiders. And then this the paddle for Star Raiders, the plug, the hookups for the TV, and of course, paddle controllers. So all that stuff cost me 40 bucks, which wasn't bad because the N64 by itself with the expansion pack, I got a pretty good price for locally. All right. Let's see. More flea market pickups, I guess. Where are those flea market pickups? I guess right here. All right, so got a bunch of stuff. These ranged from $1 to $3 a piece. I don't pay any more than that for games at the flea market. So we've got Clue, Mousetrap, Perfection and Aggravation. This was $3. Expendables 3, which was $1 on Blu-ray. This was Forza Motorsport for the original Xbox, $1. Paid $5 for Monsters, Inc. This is a GameCube exclusive that's going back into the collection. I got rid of it last year. These were $3 a piece. Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare for the PS3 and Plants vs. Zombies. Alright. These are also from the flea market. These were $3 a piece. Gears of War 3 for the Xbox 360. Rage Anarchy Edition. Gears of War 2, and Gears of War Judgment. So $3 a piece for those. Alright, some more flea market pickups. We'll start off with this copy of Zelda Minish Cap that I picked up for $3 at the flea market for the Game Boy Advance. Copy of Twisted Metal Small Brawl, PS1, $2. Finally, this was the first pickup of Saturday at the flea market. It's a limited edition Gran Turismo Entertainment Pack bundle for the PSP. So this is fully complete. I don't have this bundle, so very glad to get this. It comes with all the system and the game charger. Everything looks pretty clean and well taken care of. And then, of course, the all the materials that come with it. So I paid $10 for that. That was my first pickup of the day at the flea market on Saturday. Alright, so after the flea market, hit up a couple of yard sales. I came across this huge Nintendo Wii bundle. It didn't have a system, but just tons of shovelware titles. A few good titles in there too. There was a bunch of PS2 games in the lot. 2 boxes worth. You'll see the pictures after the video. But I paid $100 for everything, which is ridiculous. That was like the first yard sale of the day for me. And that was just crazy to have. These weren't even put out yet. When I went to a yard sale, I asked if they had any video games. They said, yeah, we have 2 boxes that we were just about to put out. So I took a look, saw a bunch of stuff, and asked them how much they would bundle everything together for. I'll buy everything. They said $100, done deal. So $100, got rid of a lot of the titles already, and some of these are sealed. So we'll start off with the PS2 titles, because there weren't very many of them. So we'll start off with Shadow Hearts Covenant, and that is complete. SpongeBob SquarePants Globs of Doom. Madagascar 2 Escape to Africa. Madagascar. This is a sealed copy of Siphon Filter Dark Mirror, factory sealed. And some other game that was in there, Lego Universe. I believe this is like a PC or a Mac game, but that was just in the box, so that was pretty cool. I've got the Network Adapter Startup Disc for the PS2, 2 PS1 games, which is Muppet Monster Adventure and Muppet Race Mania. A lot of these are kid-friendly games, so just bear with me. There's a lot of them. We got Space Camp, Excitebots Trick Racing, Rock and Roll Adventures, Marble Saga Kororinpa, I guess. SpongeBob's Boating Bash, which is factory sealed. Monsters vs. Aliens. Shaun White Snowboarding Road Trip. Mushroom Men, which is factory sealed. As well as Ben 10 Omniverse, factory sealed. Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal. Kororinpa, Marble Mania. Tak and the Guardians of Gross. And finally, a sealed copy of My Fitness Coach. Went to another yard sale. They had a box of just random stuff. It was, I saw some Xbox games, some PS2 games, PS1 games, and a bunch of just PC games. So I started digging through the box, and the woman said, you know what? Give me $5 and take the whole box. And I was like, okay. So I just took the whole box, went home, dumped out a bunch of the crap. I mean, a lot of it was burned CDs, burned video games and whatnot. They did have like 2 Game Boy games in there, a bunch of loose PS1 games. A lot of the PS2 games I already got rid of. So this is the stuff that I kept out of that $5 box. So it's Hoops for the PS1, no manual. I think I have it somewhere in the box though. We got Time Splitters Future Perfect, The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, Star Wars Starfighter Special Edition, Star Wars The Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. This is what caught my eye on the box, and when I started digging through it, She was just like, you know what, just give me $5, and otherwise I'm just going to donate it to, you know, the thrift store. I was like, okay. So I just took it, went through the whole box and just tossed out all that extra stuff and kept a few things and sold off a few things. All right, so after that last yard sale, I went back home, and there was a guy there, you know, doing our front yard. So we paid him to do our front yard. He was busy, you know, tilling the soil and laying out new sod. And he saw me just bringing in all these games from the yard sale and the flea market. So he was like, you collect? I was like, yeah. He's like, you know what? I've got a bunch of stuff at my house, which is only about 10 minutes away. So when I take my break from doing your yard, do you mind if I, you know, go there and grab that stuff? I was like, oh, hell yeah, sure. So he came back with a bunch of stuff. He came back with like a PS1. What else did he? He just had a bunch of games. One of them was like Test Drive, Eve of Destruction, loose disc only, and a bunch of other random stuff. And the stuff that I kept was a Super Nintendo. And this has no cords or controllers. It's just the console. But it does work. And I also kept the Spyro Collector's Edition. All 3 discs. The box is kind of beat up, but still, these are kind of really hard to come by. I already have this in the PS1 collection, so this is going to go in my trade box. But this is pretty cool to see all 3 of those games, especially with the outer box. And finally, this is a non-working GameCube. GameCube does not work, but it does have the Game Boy player on the bottom, so I'm going to just take this off and keep that. Not sure what I'm going to do with this broken system yet, but I paid a total of $30 for everything, and pictures of that will be at the end of the video as well. Alright, so went to an ARC, found a bunch of games, a lot of them sealed, and they were pretty good prices, so actually all of these are sealed. So we'll start off with a sealed copy of Rygar for the PS2, and I paid $4.99 for that. Copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Battle Nexus, factory sealed, $9.99. Finally, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, only on the Xbox game, sealed, $9.99. Finally, I spotted this on a shelf, and this is also factory sealed. It's got the seal on the top. The bottom is broken, so I can basically, you know, unfold this to get onto the inside, but the game is actually factory sealed too. And this is a sealed copy of Odama. Microphone's in there with the original plastic and everything. It's in, you know, the box isn't in the best shape. It's got some packing tape on it that I'm kind of scared to remove because I don't want to ruin the box, but this is factory sealed. And this is also going into my trade box because I do have one in the collection factory sealed as well. So these don't go for a whole lot of money, so this will go in my trade box. All right, getting down to the final pickups of last week. So, guy responds to my Craigslist ad, says he has a bunch of like boxed games, and so I asked him to send me a picture. He sent me a picture. I asked him how much he wanted. He said he wanted $125. So after work, I picked those up. Very happy with what I got for $125. So we'll start off with a Nintendo 64 Rumble Pack, complete in box. I don't think it has the inside. Oh yeah, it does. It has a liner and everything. So it comes with, like, of course, that inner cardboard stuff and the little plastic that covers the Rumble Pack. But never had one of these in the N64 collection, so very glad to get that. Also got a Nintendo 64 green controller. There is no inside cardboard liners to hold the controller, so it just slides right out. But I already have one of these boxes from Retro Rat, so I'm going to probably put this in my trade box with the controller. So we'll see. Alright, we've got a sealed copy of Elmo's Letter Adventure. It is factory sealed, H-Seam, for the Nintendo 64. Complete copy of Fester's Quest. Blades of Steel. John Madden Football. Sun faded a little bit. Got Body Harvest for the N64. Banjo-Kazooie. Street Fighter 2. Wave Race 64. And finally, Yoshi's Story. So what makes the lot worth $125? These two titles. Secret of Mana, complete in box for the Super Nintendo. No map, but still all good. And finally, Super Metroid, complete in box. Been looking for this box forever. So when I saw that this was in there, I was very happy. The cart is in pretty decent shape too. But very happy to finally get the box and manual for Super Metroid. So I'm probably going to sell the loose copy, since I already have a copy loose that I'm going to put into this box. Or that'll probably go into my trade box, a loose card. But Super Metroid complete. So very happy with that. Well worth the 125 bucks. Last pickup comes from a new video game store in town. I believe it's called the Game Store, I think. So they're pretty high priced. But when I looked at their Facebook page, I saw that they had a couple titles that I wanted. So knowing that they're kind of high priced, I brought in a small box of trade stuff. I got $140 store credit, and I had to pay 20 bucks on top of that for these 2 games. Only 2 games. So we'll start off with Echo Knight for the PS1. And finally, a game that I've just been avoiding me forever. Never, ever found one for a good price at a game store. So finally, when this popped up, I was like, okay, that's good enough for me to throw a lot of trade at. So I got a copy of Suikoden 2. So this is in some weird, like, cloudy, CD case. So I'm going to have to replace it with a regular jewel case. But the disc is in mint condition. Like, no scratches at all on it. And, of course, the manual has a little bit of tear. But overall, very happy to finally get this. I've seen it a few times. Once, disc only. I've seen one at Entertainment for like $129.99, but they didn't do trades. So I didn't want to just pay Entertainment like $130 for one game. Unless it was like really, really worth it or underpriced. So Suikoden 2 for the PS1. And I believe that is all the pickups that I got for this week. Sorry, there was just a ton to cover. I went really fast on a lot of it. Again, pictures of everything that I picked up will be at the end of the video. Other than that, I hope you guys are killing it out there. Hope you guys are finding a lot of good stuff. Happy hunting. Peace.